Hello, everyone. Welcome to the DMV Business Show. I'm your host, Otto Sevilla, and today I have a very special guest for you, Amanda Coleman-Phelps, the president and CEO of Nelson Coleman Jewelers. Welcome to the show, Amanda.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, the pleasure is all mine. Before we go into your personal story, if you could just give the audience, just in case they haven't heard of who is Nelson Coleman Jewelers, what are you? What do you do, please?
Sure. So, Nelson Coleman Jewelers is a full service retail jewelry store. We have two locations for Nelson Coleman Jewelers, one in Towson, Maryland, and one in Frederick, Maryland. We also have another retail jewelry store in Woodbridge, Virginia, called Jewelry by Designs, a Nelson Coleman company that we purchased in 2020 from another independent jeweler. And we do everything from bridal to estate jewelry. We do repairs on your jewelry, custom. We also do precious metal buying and selling. So we kind of do it all.
That's amazing. And the story's pretty cool because you guys have been around for a very, very long time.
Yeah, we are super old. But we like to say that we're not the best because we're the oldest. We're the oldest because we're the best. So
I love that. So are you originally from the area here?
I am, yes. So I was born and raised in Baltimore County, Maryland, and our store originated in Munich, Bavaria. So our company, I'm sixth generation, and we were established in 1856 in Munich.
Wow.
Yeah.
1856. Munich, Germany?
Now it's Munich, Germany, but before it was Munich, Bavaria.
Okay.
We're like super old, like so.
Okay. So you say you grew up in Baltimore County, right?
Yes, Baltimore County, Maryland.
So growing up there, like what were you into? What did you like?
So, I we didn't have cable. So I wasn't really into any like TV shows. I love to read. I did horseback riding. It's in a rural area, so like pretty much anything to do with the outside. Hanging out with my friends. Back then, I had a best friend. She's still my best friend since we were 4 years old, and we used to just do imaginary games and read books and go swimming. Just I had a great childhood. If I could like pick one age to stay at for the like my whole life, it would be 10 years old because I loved growing up where I lived.
Okay. Why specifically 10? Was there an event or something that happened at 10?
It was like before I went to middle school, and middle school is so hard. So I was like, 10 is good.
Yeah, that's true. I have three boys, and my oldest one just started middle school this year,
Oh,
and it's it's different. It's different than elementary schools. So he's getting adjusted to it.
yeah, it's a journey. It's like, how do you prepare your child for that? I have two boys. My oldest is going next year, so maybe I'll call you for some tips.
Sure, anytime. So growing up, were you, this is a family business, like you mentioned, sixth generation. I think you're the ninth oldest in the entire country, right?
Yeah, we're the ninth oldest jeweler in North America.
Awesome. So were you exposed to this? Would you go into the store or was it talked in the house or not much?
That's a great question. We were exposed to it, and I have very fond memories of getting paid like $1 an hour from my parents, where we would go through all of what we would call the dead envelopes, like customers' old envelopes that they would pick up their item and then take with them just to make sure that there wasn't any pieces of chain or any like old clasps or anything. So my younger brother and I, we would just sit on the floor in our family room and go through these dead envelopes. And so like that was kind of my first real memory of like working in the store. And but we went and visited all the time and helped out. And I never actually thought I was going to be a part of the business. I think, being on completely honest, I took it for granted. I always appreciated what jewelry and the business did for my family. And I just never saw myself doing anything with it. It wasn't until I actually went out for the Baltimore City Fire Department and I was not accepted. That my dad was like, Amanda, give it a shot. And I did. And I've been there ever since.
I love that. It's interesting you mentioned you never really appreciated as far as what it did to you and the family. What did you see that it did to the family?
Well, my parents' livelihood. And it, supported us. Supported our family. And I don't think I necessarily looked at it as anything other than that. Once I started looking at our business for what it did to our community and for our community regarding celebrating those special moments, documenting these important concentrated pieces of wealth, all of the little things, then I started recognizing more the bigger picture of what we do.
Mm-hmm. How many siblings do you have?
I have an older brother and a younger brother.
Okay, so three then.
Three,
Okay.
yes. There's three of us.
And I assume all three of you were also working and helping out in the family business, right?
Yes, absolutely. My older brother is 11 years older than me, and he is a tactical medic for Baltimore City. So I first tried to follow in his footsteps when I went out for the fire department. And then I followed in my parents' footsteps. So, but my older brother's involved more so in just networking and bringing people that he meets into the store. My younger brother, he's 3 years younger than me. He was exposed very similar to me to the industry. He ended up living in California and running Harry Winston. So he was in the industry up until just about 2 years ago, and he left corporate jewelry to go out and do his own thing.
Okay, I see. Wow,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
You,
Well, you learn so much
mhm.
through sales and people,
Yeah.
relationship building.
You mentioned it wasn't until you tried to go to the fire department. Do you remember around what age were you during that time?
Sure. So I was in my early 20s. So I
Okay.
was around 21.
So you're around 21. You try to go to the fire department. You said, unfortunately, you didn't make it. And that's when your dad said to seriously look into this, right?
Yes. Yes. But I'm leaving some things out. I'll give you the full background. So I came into the business when we were downtown. For those of your audience that are familiar with downtown, we were under the Women's Industrial Exchange on the corner of Pleasant and North Charles Street. And we had this little boutique operation, and we were there for over 50 years. And so I worked there, and this business, it's a career. It's not like a typical sales job. And so
Mm-hmm.
when I went into it, initially when I was 18, it was just like, hey, you're 18, try this out. And I just failed. Like I didn't fail forward, I just failed. And my parents let me quit that first time. And then when they moved the business to Towson on East Joppa Road, I came back and I tried again. At that point in time, I was had not made it into the fire department, and I was waitressing, just kind of like a transition, and I did not do well there again, and that lasted like 3 weeks. I wasn't mature enough, I fully admit it, and then my dad tried again, so it was like not too much longer after that. I'm like, okay, I will try it this time, and then it stuck. So I really agree with third time's the charm.
Thank you for sharing that story. I didn't know. You mentioned those first two times you didn't make it. For those who may not be familiar with the jewelry business, is it 100% commission based? Is it some type of base or hourly paid plus whatever you sell?
That's a great question. So I think it's different for every company.
Mm-hmm.
We've done both in our history. We've done salary for sales team members, and we've also done base plus commission. And what we have found in our company with our revenue, that our sales team members can do better when they're in control of their income. So
Hmm.
we do a base plus commission. We also, on top of that, for our full-time team members, we have really competitive benefits. So to try and help with that work-life balance. Um, and so I think it's probably a mix of both. And I think that for jewelry store owners, it's about knowing their clients and knowing what their revenue potential is to do what's best for their team members.
Sure. So for you, you've seen, Amanda, that it's worked best when there's some type of base plus additional compensation.
Yep, that's what seems to be working now. We are a very fluid company. We really try to take a lot of time and listen to what our team members are asking for or want. So if we ever had to change that based on data and analysis to do what's best for the team, we would be open to that. But that seems to be what's working right now. And to answer your other question about why I failed, um, I think it was literally just a lack of understanding of what I was walking into and the level of maturity and responsibility that working in this industry requires in a good way. We're a career oriented jewelry store, and I think I just wasn't career minded at the time. And I really give a lot of accolades to my dad for recognizing when that shift happened for me and I became more career oriented. And that's when he kind of swooped in.
That's true. That's good. I like the third time's a charm too.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
so you start the third time, you're in your early 20s, and do you start off that third time as sales or a different type of role?
So I started out in our entry level position, which at the time was called a jeweler's assistant. And you kind of do all of the support services for the departments, whether it's sales or marketing, inventory, repairs. You're kind of on the front lines, and it's a really great way to learn all of the intricacies of the business kind of on that level. So I started there, started entry level, and I worked in that for a year, um, learning the different like aspects of the company, and then it was the agreement that after the first year, if I wanted to continue on with jewelry as my career, that I would go attend the Gemological Institute of America and become a graduate gemologist, which is a 6 month residential program. And so I went ahead and I did that and then came back.
Where was that?
There's two headquarters where they offer the residency program. One is in Manhattan and one is in California. And believe it or not, even though we are closer proximity to Manhattan, it was more cost effective for me to live in California and go to school there. So I got to travel cross country with my friend at the time, Michelle, and I. And this is like, she had a project to do. So when we were riding cross country, she like read a book to me out loud. So she was like my audiobook. But it was a great experience. I'm so grateful to my parents for recognizing that this was the path for me and then allowing me to do this.
When you were in that institute for 6 months, I guess things became serious then because now this is a career like you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I think that was my first real opportunity to figure out how to be a student. I took it very seriously. They don't mess around. You have to attend class for a certain amount of hours, or they bump you back to the next class because you have to complete those hours
Mhm.
in order to graduate. You have to have a certain GPA to graduate there. So I really like hunkered down and figured out what type of learner I was, how to study, and it was a very good experience for me holistically in becoming more of like the steps to becoming more of a professional.
Mhm. So then once you come back home, are you still in that role as far as rotating and seeing all the different departments and divisions, or do you come back in a different role?
So I came back and then I kind of did a hybrid of that plus sales. And then I also helped now that I had a skill set of gemology, I was able to utilize that to then help with things like appraisals and gem identification. And so then I was able to be introduced more into the inventory department in a different way, more into the sales in a different way. And then as I adapted and grew, I became a certified graduate gemologist through the American Gem Society, which was a huge honor because there's only less than 300 of us throughout the United States where we have that title. So I just wanted to continue to improve. And then I went back to college, actually, after that. So kind of did things in reverse.
What'd you study when you go back?
So I went to University of Baltimore so that I could commute and I was able to work full time and go to college full time. I actually graduated from University of Baltimore, but I'm a community college graduate as well, which I have to say, my associate's degree that I got from Essex Community College, Baltimore County, is one of I'm most proud of that because I worked so hard in getting that. I worked full time and got my degree and went to school full time. So I just got my associate's degree in general studies, and then I graduated it from the University of Baltimore with my marketing, my BS with a concentration in marketing.
That's good. So you can put that marketing to use in the business.
Yes, that was the goal. And then everything changed with digital. So I'm like, I'm going to have to go back. I'm going to have to go back to school and figure this out.
Amanda, how was it? Because sometimes I see, especially with multiple generation family business, there's sometimes clash. There's the old generation that's used to doing things a certain way. And then there's a new generation coming in with a different perspective. Things are shifting in the market. You just mentioned digital. I'm sure it was not like that before with your parents or grandparents. Was there anything like that? And if so, how were you able to navigate through all that?
Well, I got pretty lucky. We definitely had the family dynamic of different opinions and how we didn't always handle that well.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, it's the team members that pay the price for that. So we tried to nip that in the bud real quick.
I'm sorry, if I can just for a second there.
Yeah.
A family, how did you do that with the family business? Because I hear that time and time again with clients. There's family involved, different generations, and it's not easy. You mentioned nipping in the butt. I agree. Sometimes you need to, but
how did I do that?
Yes.
Okay. So I am lucky enough that the family I grew up in, we were very communicative with each other. We didn't hold back anything, and we didn't take it personal, which is, I think, something that was a skill set that we all had going into this, which I think was a huge benefit to us figuring out. We also have really strong opinions. So that was a little bit of like a head butter a little bit sometimes. But ultimately, I think if I could take everything I learned and sum it up into a couple lessons, a big lesson I learned in going through this to nip it in the bud was to appreciate the challenge, to lean into the discomfort of challenge and maintain your why. Like, why are you feeling this way? And our why was always the same, whether we disagreed on how to get there or not. And it was to make our team members and our business better. So it always came back to that, and we came up with a solution. The other lessons that I've learned was, again, just not to take things personal and to always just keep the main thing. And not to get nasty or bitter towards each other, and it'll always work out. But we definitely, it was a journey. I mean, like, it was a journey, a learning opportunity. I wouldn't change it for the world, but it was difficult for all of us. But my dad, like I was saying earlier, getting ready to say, my dad, I was really lucky. He was for for his um, age at the time, I mean, he's going to be 80 years old. And so he was always an early adopter. Like he was always an early adopter for technology or product. And he ran our marketing department. So I had his support in that. It wasn't him trying to keep things the same. He was ready to go. It was more just a difference of how to run the company that we would clash on sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
but we worked through it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you share as far as what your thought process was as far as running the company compared to him or someone else in the family?
I think it was just um, as simple as just we had different approaches. We just had different approaches to how to do it. It wasn't even a difference of what we needed to do. It was just the approach of how to get there. Um, I'm very process oriented. I like to have that. And until I have that, I am not going to launch. And so if I'm working with someone who's not that way, then it can be a clash, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I have these checks and balances that are important to me. And it's not that the other person's process or however they do it isn't important, it's just different. So collaborating on the next steps, utilizing each person's, how what they feel is important was the key.
So it's almost like you are more aim fire and some people are more fire than aim. No?
Sometimes,
Okay.
if you were interviewing them, they might even say, I wonder how they would say it. Um, Ultimately, though, I think the biggest gift was just the complete transparency and honesty. Again, the communication um, that they gave, that they
Sure.
had with me. It got tense sometimes, but there was always that trust there. Um, I never doubted that once.
Sure.
So that was hugely beneficial in this journey for me.
I'm also happy to hear, Amanda, that they embraced digital, the new technology coming in,
Oh,
because
yeah.
sometimes I hear that, they're used to allocating certain marketing dollars into this type of advertising or marketing. And now social media shows up or other types of digital online forums and mediums. And they're like, well, no, we always advertise in that
Yeah.
newspaper or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or radio. For
Yeah.
us, it
Right.
was radio.
Okay.
Um, and we tried so hard to make that an acquisition tool, and it just wasn't. It was more retention. And we didn't own enough of the market where it made sense to spend that kind of money on radio. But once we figured that out, it was a quick move to digital. And like you were saying, I mean, like that is a huge difference price point wise, like
Yeah.
as far as your budget and ad spend.
And now that we're talking about ad spend and marketing, so before, would you say new clients, not established old clients coming in, but new clients back then, were they mostly coming, you think, from radio or other forms of advertising? If so, what compared to now today?
That's a good question. I don't have the exact numbers, but for us, it was very referral based. So I would say a giant chunk of our clients came from referrals. Um, and then print, we did a lot with print. And we probably had a small portion of our radio bring us some acquisition. Unfortunately, it was so hard to track,
Mm-hmm.
track that. So that's kind of, oh, and I apologize for the phone, but that's kind of where we were with that.
Okay. And now today, is it still the same or is it things shifted? And
No,
how does it look today?
now I mean, I would say the majority of our marketing is spent on digital, whether it's SEO, SEM, you know, paid posts. It's mostly digital, and that's a huge chunk of our time too in our marketing department.
Sure. So you have internally a marketing department.
We do. We have a two key positions. So we have our principal creative designer and our marketing manager in-house. And then we have a outsourced social media coordinator. And we also have a third-party sales, which sounds like sales, but it's really keyword based.
Okay.
So that's a huge chunk of like our marketing as well. And then we work with a digital marketing firm and a PR firm.
Great. I know you have several locations now, two in Maryland, one in Virginia. How does your team overall look today?
So we have over 30 team members. We have our headquarters, which is in Towson, Maryland, and out of that building, we have our accounting, marketing, inventory, and our sales, like our operations. And then we have our flagship store in Towson, Maryland, Nelson Coleman, and we have around 6 to 7 people working out of that store. Same for Jewelry by Designs. It's probably around 5 to 6. Mm-hmm. And then in Frederick, we have about 5 working out of that store.
How do you go about finding the right people and putting them in the right seat in the bus? Because sometimes I'm hearing now, especially with COVID and today's job market, people are having some difficulties. I don't know how your situation is here.
Oh, I completely can identify with what you just said. And well, I'll answer it in 2 ways. So how do we like manage and retain and get the right people in the right seats? We as a company utilize EOS, which is the Entrepreneurial Operating System. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it is something I recommend to any business owner, whether you're a small business owner or a larger business owner. We have our leadership team and we follow EOS to a T. And that helps us with the ability to communicate and operate on a level that translates into trust and leadership to our team members. So that's one. The other, with retention of team members, that was tough. We definitely experienced the Great Resignation in the beginning of 2022. And the team members that left, they went and they found positions that were more beneficial to them. And that's okay. We know that our company, although we try to do what's best for our team, it's not always going to be the right fit for where people want to be. And that's all right. We don't take it personal. We feel like you should be happy at work. So we tried on our own. Little did we know what was happening. We tried on our own to fill those positions, and we were finding it to be borderline impossible. So it was really burning out my leadership team because now they have people that are missing. So they're compensating for those people that are missing and doing their jobs and trying to grow our company and recruiting. So we went ahead and we made the decision that we were going to hire a recruiter. And that was the best thing that we ever did. It was not an inexpensive endeavor, but I will stand by our decision to do that because I feel like if we hadn't, our leadership team would have been completely burnt out. And it would have cost us more in the long run for what we would have lost versus what we spent to find the right people.
When did you bring that recruiter?
Oh my gosh. I think it was second quarter of last year.
Okay. So coming up to 1 year anniversary in a couple months.
Yeah, exactly. And we didn't hire internally. We used a recruiting firm.
Okay. Oh, so that's not in-house. That's a third party who's providing those services.
Third party. Yes. Sorry.
Okay.
I was not clear with that. So it was not in-house because we're just not big enough to have that level of HR right now. I do see, though, companies who do have an internal recruiter, the benefit of having somebody do that knows your company and your culture to have this continuous outreach. I do see the benefit of that. I honestly didn't before, or maybe I didn't understand it in a way that I understand it now.
And this recruiter, Amanda, is helping out with all different positions and roles and different levels of the company that are needed.
They have mostly helped us with the sales
Mm-hmm.
role, and then on our store management front.
So it's been a big game changer then.
Yeah, it was hugely beneficial for us. It was the partner we needed for our leadership team to feel supported and to be able to continue to do what they do well and find the right people to fill the positions we were needing filled.
You mentioned your leadership team. How does that look like? Is it per
Yeah.
store or is it corporate level?
So right now, based on our size, the EOS model we use, we have our leadership team comprised of an implementer and integrator, which is me. A lot of times that person might be outsourced, but we did it in-house because I'm a nerd and I just like read and researched this. I do totally think that at some point we're going to have to outsource that, but not yet. And then we have our regional director who handles sales and ops, our merchandising director, and our controller for the finances. And then we have the marketing manager. So all of the department heads.
Great. You've mentioned here EOS, and I am familiar. It's actually interesting. I gathered with some entrepreneurs the other day, and we were talking about the book and the
Okay.
program and everything. But just for those here who are listening, who are not familiar, they're like, EOS, what does that stand for?
Yeah.
What does that mean? If you can just share
Yeah.
what is EOS and what it's done to you and your company, because it sounds like it's been a tremendous help.
It has. So EOS stands for the Entrepreneurial Operating System. You can read the books Traction and What the Heck is EOS by Gino Wickman. Gino Wickman is a genius. He literally took the ideas and methodologies from some of the world's most amazing authors for management, teamwork, growth, you name it, and created an operating system for businesses. Traction is a little bit more granular. Traction is a book that you would read if you wanted a blueprint for how to operate and do the EOS within your company. What the heck is EOS is probably something I would read first if you're interested. And that kind of talks about a more high level of what it is. And there's another book by Gino Wickman. You might remember it, and it's escaping me right now. And that is more story based, where you hear a story about how it was applied. So in trying to figure out how each person retains information, there's a little bit of each for the books that are out there on it. There's a very pretty, I would say, I would hate to use the word rigid, but it's pretty straightforward how to do it. So you have your VTO, which is your vision traction organizer. And that's where you list your goals out, right? You have your 1 year goals, you have your 3 year, and then your 10 year goals. Your mission, your vision, your customer. What does your customer look like? And what are your core values? And then what is your guarantee? So your VTO is really consists of those things, and you work very closely over 3 days with your leadership team to figure out what those things are based on. For us, we used customer reviews, data. We figured out what we're doing well, what we're not doing well. It's a real holistic view of your company, and you have to be vulnerable. Somebody going into this who thinks that they're already doing everything perfect and doesn't need to grow, it's probably not a good option for you.
Mm-hmm.
With that, you create quarterly rocks. These are 4 giant rocks for your company, and you have someone responsible for those from each department. And then you'll have individual rocks on how these are things that each person's going to be doing to get there. Those are evaluated every other week during your level 10 meetings. Also, huge parts of this to make sure that, like you said, you have the right people in the right seats. There's the GWC, which is get it, want it, capacity to do it. Your team members are rated on these things based on your core values. Like we have 5 core values. Each of those core values are listed on there, and then you rate the person based on that. That we review with the team members monthly. And then you also have your people analyzer, which is the actual process of evaluating those people. So that's it. It sounds like, oh my God, that's a lot of work, but it saves you so much time. It saves you so much time because everyone's on the same page and everybody knows what they need to do. And there's no more guessing who's doing what, who do I need to talk to for this or for that. It's really was a huge game changer for us. We started in 2001.
Wow, you've been on it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Besides the change, operational and internal, have you noticed also affect the bottom line of the business?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have grown 30 to 50% since we started doing it through acquisition and build up, like creating new footprints for our stores. We would have never been able to do that if we didn't have the synergy we have with our team.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Amanda. I appreciate it.
Yeah, sure.
What would you say drives and motivates you?
Definitely our people. And people in general drive. So like going into this business, like we talked about a little earlier, I wasn't really sure how I was going to impact this being like a like, what do you do at 6 generations, right? Like, how can I and I realized that it really wasn't like how I was going to impact the company. It was how the company impacted me, and the people were who did that. They're the reason why I enjoy coming to work every day, hearing their stories, giving them an opportunity to have a career, giving them an opportunity to grow as much as they want and to be happy. I mean, you're at work for more, like, than you see your work family more than your actual family. So that's important to us. We want people to be happy at work, and that's my driver. How can I continue to grow and build this to help the people? And that's internal. Externally, we have our Chris Coleman Enrichment Program, which is named after my dad, because my dad, like, from the moment I stepped foot into this company, the 3rd time, all he was doing was helping charities and nonprofits and organizations get money through his philanthropic efforts. And he did it through this awesome thing we do called a diamond in a champagne glass. And I was like, you know what? How could we bring this to more people? And what is a customer worth to us? Like, what is, right? I'm sure you, in talking through your like entrepreneurs, it's like, what's the lifetime value of your customer? What would you be willing to pay to have that customer for a lifetime? And for us, not to make it seem transactional, because it's definitely not. For us, it's like 10% of a retail sale. Okay. So we created the Chris Coleman Enrichment Program, and we give back 10% to any organization or nonprofit of our customer's choice, 10% of the full price retail purchase. Now, I say full price because we are a business. We do have to make money to stay in business. So we can't do the enrichment program if you also utilize one of our promotions, which we offer because we want to celebrate. We have birthday and anniversary promotions. So maybe you don't do the enrichment program for this purchase, but you do it for another purchase. It all adds up. And we write a check on behalf of the customer to whatever organization or charity. So that's how we align with the community, and that's the other side of the fulfillment. So it's internal people, external people for me.
I love that. With the rich experience you have now running the business, if you can go out there and open any type of new business, what are some pointers now knowing this and having the experience you would do? I'm thinking of just anyone coming to you, man, and says, hey, I want to open Doesn't have to be jewelry store. It could be any type of business, product, selling a service. And any pointers, some key items they should focus on?
Yeah. Okay. So, make sure that you have your own personal finances in line first. Um, Make sure that you are, it goes back to like, make sure that you're wearing, put your like oxygen mask on first before you help someone else, kind of. Um, that is where I would start. I would talk to a certified financial planner and make sure that you have all of your personal finances in order first. The next thing I would do is make sure that you have done your research on the key counsel you need in order to start that business, whether it's your attorney, your CPA, your certified financial planner. I would definitely have had at least 6 months to a year working with a business coach, so that you have all these really key foundational items in place. Once you do that and you have that, I would then create your business plan. And I would have your business coach review your business plan and make sure you know, are you self-funding this? Are you getting funding? How does that work? Are you doing bank funding? And how are you going to make that work for you and earn a profit? And when are you going to earn a profit? And then location. All of those things first. I think as visionaries, people start at the end, right? And that's okay. But if you're going to start at the end, at that final result, work your way back to the beginning and document how you're going to get there. And then start at the beginning and work your way to your vision and your dream. So that would be my best advice.
Great. You mentioned location, and I'm in commercial real estate, so I can't help but ask. I know you have your Towson location and Frederick. How do you go about selecting those locations?
So my parents and my uncle selected our Towson location. I have a funny story about how I selected our headquarters in Towson. So because they're different. So my parents and my uncle own the store, and I operate our business out of that location. Our headquarters in Towson, our certified financial planner, you can see as I circle back to this advice, we were about to renew our lease for the space we were renting for our accounting and our headquarters, and it was really small. And our certified financial planner was like, why don't you just buy a building? And I was like, okay, fine, we'll buy a building. And I literally, I mean, things were going really quickly. I literally went on LoopNet, found a place up the street, put in an inquiry, and we had it kind of done in a week. So that was pretty quick. I don't necessarily recommend that you do it that quickly, but
that is quick.
Yeah, that is quick. It all worked out. We had great, but you know what? We had our counsel all in order right away. Kind of goes back to the advice. We had the team there ready to go and the relationships we needed. And then for Frederick, it was not quick. It was long. It was a long process to find this building. We had initially come in thinking we were going to rent, but we had a specific footprint we needed in order to rent because it needed to be like a bank, because we needed a vault, because the buildings in downtown Frederick are historic. They're, built in the 1800s, 1700s. The building we bought was built in 1865. And we had a heck of a time finding the space. And our realtor earlier in our process pointed at the building that we actually own now and said, you know what, that would be a great space for you, but they don't want to rent, they want to sell. And I was like, okay, so you tuck these little things away. And finally I called our realtor. I was like, you know what, we're going to buy. I want to see that building again, and put in an LOI, and it just started moving. And then our process to do the build out took about 5 to 6 months.
Okay. Great.
And we had to put the safes in, and that was extremely scary.
So the
But our
safe was not there.
no,
Okay. Okay.
yeah, we put two 7,000 pound safes in our store,
Wow.
and it was. I mean, I completely trusted the team that put the shoring plan and everything together. It just was nerve-wracking because it's not a quick process.
Yeah. Amanda, are there any habits or traits you feel that you've had that have helped you, whether in the business or even just personal side of things?
Oh, that's a really good question. For me, I think what I live by is do what you say you're going to do. And that I think is a habit to do what you say you're going to do and have the self-discipline to do it. And then also for me, it's just living by easy choices, hard life, hard choices, easy life. And again, just going back to the self-discipline, ask questions, don't make statements, try to understand the person that you're talking with, like actively listen, don't just listen to talk. I think those are the key elements that I utilize daily. And just making sure that I'm communicating and leaning in, like we talked about earlier, just leaning into discomfort and being okay with that and being okay with the challenge. It's all right. It's not about the challenge, it's how you handle it.
Speaking about the challenge, what would you say is your biggest challenge with your role today at the company?
My biggest challenge,
Yes.
um, my biggest challenge. I think my biggest challenge, but also my greatest joy is just making sure that everyone likes where they work and likes what they do. It's always a challenge, and it's something that you can never stop working on to make sure your team is happy. So that I think, I hate to be so simplified, but I really think that's it.
Now, I like how it all starts with your team. And I agree there. It starts with there, and then that trickles down to your clients, customers, their
Yeah,
interaction, and everything.
definitely. I mean, your clients will know if your team's not happy because they don't want to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you know now that you wish you would have known at the start of your career coming into the jewelry business back then?
Oh, wow. You want like a positive and a negative?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Um, what? Okay, so positive, what I know now that I wish I would have known. Um, I how happy I would be with accepting the challenges. I think um but I also think the joy of that is the journey, right? And like getting to that place where like you can just roll with it. And then let's see what I wish I would have known now. I think I wish I would have known a bit more about business transition and how that impacts people emotionally. I think if I had known more about that, I'm not sure things would have ended up any differently than they have now. But I think that it could have saved some certain conversations, and the conversations could have gone differently. Again, nothing major, but I think the more it's like the more you know kind of thing.
Hmm.
And I would have liked to have understood the emotional trajectory of business transition a little bit better.
Yeah. There's definitely emotions in business for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, we all have setbacks. Some are larger, some are smaller. What would you say is your favorite fail?
My favorite fail. Oy. Um, my favorite fail. I think the fails. that I remember that stick with me the most are like when I have like control issues. I fully admit it. And I try to control certain situations and it has been an effort for me to not step in certain situations and like just let people handle stuff the way because people do a good job. The people I have who have stepped up and stepped in on the leadership team, they handle stuff great. So I guess my fail would be not giving them that opportunity sooner. And the favorite part of that would be what I get to see now that I've, you know, come to reality and seen like how amazing they are. So did that answer your question?
No, it did. I love it. And thank you for sharing that. Sometimes I think when we let go, we can see other people flourish.
Yeah, it's so amazing.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. Coming to an end here shortly, Amanda.
Sure.
Did you have any mentors? And if so, what did you learn from them?
Oh yeah. So my parents, of course, amazing mentors, my Vistage chair. This is why I bring up the business coaching. My Vistage chair, my business coach is a mentor. And I have my mentors from the jewelry industry who just gave me the courage to have the hard conversations, and it was totally worth it. So my parents, Ed Robinson from my Vistage group, my Vistage chair, Abe Sherman, he owns Balance to Buy Big, which is a huge company, and just somebody I always knew would be honest with me. And I think that I could name lots of other people who have just helped me along the way. And the traits that they have, it all boils down to just honesty and transparency and not being afraid to tell me what I needed to hear, not just and knowing that it shouldn't be what I wanted to hear. Because, when you're growing in business, you don't even know what you want to hear. Like you might want to hear like, everything will be okay. But that's not what you need to hear as you're growing as a business owner.
You mentioned Vistage and your business coach. Are you still working with them?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. After all these years, that's
and
great.
I've got my leadership team, all of them in Vistage as well.
Oh, they all have coaches too and are in Vistage?
Oh yeah. Going back to investing in your team, that's definitely something that we do.
That's good. I love that. What are you most excited about? What does the future look like for you and the business?
Well, our mission and our vision is to bring the Chris Coleman Enrichment Program to as many communities as we possibly can. And so I think I am most excited about seeing how our team grows in order to be able to do that.
That's great. You mentioned you're a mom of two boys. So when you're not busy with the business, what do you like to do for fun in your free time, if that exists?
I was going to say, sit on my couch and type up all my notes I took from the day. No, I am so boring. Like, I like to read. I love bird watching. I know nothing about birds except that I watch them. And I'd like to do more of that. I love just going out to breakfast with my kids and my husband and just talking about stuff and just hearing their personalities and how they see the world, and just, I guess, quality time. My love language is servitude, so I feel love and show love through servitude. So being able to do things for my family is like it fills my bucket. So whether it's just like helping them ride a bike or stuff like that.
Now that we're on the subject of family, you mentioned your oldest is going to middle school next year, right? I'm curious. Now this will be going into seventh generation. Have they been exposed to the business? And if so, how is that coming along? What has happened?
So they have been exposed to the business because I've had to take them with me. Just being a working mom, they come with me whenever I need them to, and they're like super amenable to that. Um, my oldest I mean, we talk about it like half jokingly, when are you going to come work for mom? All
Sure.
that stuff. Um, my oldest, I'm not sure if he does. He is such a empathic kid. He loves helping people, and I think he'll go into something to do with that. He's expressed interest in like social work. So I don't know if he would come into the business. I just
Sure.
want them to do what makes them happy. And if it's not coming into the business, that's okay. Um, we've looked into options of like employee owned, like if there's no seventh generation. There's so many going back to like the more you know or you don't know what you don't know. What I've learned is the different options for continuity planning. It's there's so many different options out there. I don't want to hang my hat on my kids because I don't want to put that pressure on them. But I will tell you, since this is being recorded for the future, I do think my youngest, who's like a natural born salesperson, he has zero fear of rejection. He will at least work a little bit in the store. I don't
Hmm.
know if it'll be like a career for him, but it could be. I mean, he
Okay.
could work there now if it wasn't illegal and sell anything.
How old is he?
He's 9.
Okay. He might be the
He,
top seller. You never know.
I bet he could be.
Yeah.
I think he would give people a run for their money. He just has zero fear of rejection. So, like, I don't know. I do. I have. And so if somebody was like, no, I have to like, I have corrective behaviors that help me figure out the next question to ask to make sure that I am selling. He just is like, no, why no? If you don't like this, what else do you want to see? Let's look over here. Like he doesn't care.
Oh, I love that.
I know, it's pretty incredible.
That's so good. The other day I was hearing how they were saying how the top salespeople, who are the top salespeople, and they were telling me is the Girl Scouts with the Girl Scout cookies. So it's pretty hard to say no to a kid.
Yeah.
Whether selling Girl Scouts, I had my oldest also in Boy Scouts for a moment selling popcorn, and that was one of the main reasons, just to make him feel comfortable going to a total stranger and asking for the order to buy
Yes.
popcorn. Yes.
You learn so much.
Yeah, you definitely do. In regards to the oldest though, Amanda, you have that charity arm named after your father. You never know where that can lead. I don't know.
Exactly. And you're right. And he is a bit of an artist. He loves, he has a huge artistic arm, but so he could go into that. He could go into charity. He just really gets fulfillment from
Sure.
helping people like feel better. So you're right. We'll never know. We'll have to do this again in like 10, 15 years, and I'll let you know where I am with
Yeah,
that.
that's sweet. I have that too with my three boys. They all have different personalities, as you know, and
Mhm.
and there are some that are maybe more giving, and is just very different. They're all very different.
They're all very different, and it's pretty cool
It
when
is.
you start identifying different aspects of their personality that you know are going to help them in their journey for whatever they're going to choose for their careers.
Exactly. If people want to learn more about you, Amanda, and Nelson Coleman Jewelers, where can they go to and find out more information, please?
So you can visit us online, nelsoncoleman.com. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and those links are also on nelsoncoleman.com. You can also find us on jewelrybydesigns.com and follow us on Jewelry by Designs Instagram and Facebook as well.
Amanda, thank you so much for coming on today. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been great.
Take care.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
Bye.